Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, hockey fans. It is a deceptive 9 degrees Celsius, 49 degrees Fahrenheit in a damp and drizzly Bridgewater, Nova Scotia today. My name is Justin, Bridgewater's Finest on YouTube, Blockbuster_guy on Twitter, and welcome to the Friday, May 6th edition of the Bridgewater's Finest 2016 NHL Playoffs podcast. We had a pair of excellent games last night, including what was arguably the game of the year so far in Nashville and San Jose in Game 4. Before we get into talking about the games from last night, one more time in the description to this video, there is a link through the Canadian Red Cross to donate to the Alberta Fires Appeal on behalf of the people of Fort McMurray, Alberta, currently dealing with the wildfires in that area. If you're in a position to, please consider making a donation to the Alberta Fires Appeal. I know there are a lot of people in Fort McMurray, in Alberta, and in Canada in general that would thank you for that. So, let's get into reviewing the two games from last night. We're going to start with Dallas and St. Louis because I need to build myself up to San Jose and Nashville. I don't think I'm being hyperbolic in saying San Jose and Nashville is probably one of the 10 best hockey games I've ever witnessed in my life, either live or on television. It was just unbelievable. But Dallas and St. Louis, Game 4, a pivotal Game 4 in their series, coming in, St. Louis leading 2-1 after that 6-1 beatdown in Game 3. Dallas had a lot to prove. They went with Kari Lehtonen in net. I disagreed with that decision. I thought it should have been Antti Niemi. I thought he was pulled too early in that game, but Dallas with a big 3-2 overtime victory against St. Louis. They desperately needed this game. I mean, if they would have lost this game, the series ends in 5. But they didn't. They win it. They tie up the series at 2 games apiece. Shots were 28-26 for the victorious Stars. Had a lot of really great physical play to open this game. There were very few shot attempts. This was starting to look like a defensive battle. A lot of the play was taking place at center ice and between the two blue lines. But again, really great physical play to open this thing up. It's tight checking. It's a shot blocking grind really throughout the early to even through to the mid-first period. We really don't have a lot of attempts or action either way. That is until 10:17 of the first period when St. Louis opens the scoring. It's Vladimir Tarasenko. The Tarasen show gets his 6th of these playoffs. Schwartz and Gunnarsson draw the assists. It was a lead pass to a breakaway opportunity for Vladimir Tarasenko when Dallas actually had 6 players on the ice. So all 6 players couldn't catch Vladimir Tarasenko on that one. He sent in alone. He beats Kari Lehtonen 10:17 of the first. Halfway through the first, St. Louis is up 1-0. Just 1 minute later, St. Louis with a glorious opportunity to double their lead. Alexander Steen and Troy Brouwer are sent in on a 2-on-1. Steen puts it across to Brouwer, who is in alone. Kari Lehtonen with a big pad save. He makes a statement there, not letting his team go down 2-0. The hard-checking first period continuing here. Ryan Reeves, who obviously was a big part of that St. Louis blowout in Game 3 from a physical standpoint, just absolutely dumps Richie for the Stars. This is Richie making his playoff debut. Welcome to the league, kid. Ryan Reeves dumps him on his backside. St. Louis misses their last 3 chances of the first period, just flat out missed nets, and it forces Brian Elliott to have to make a couple of saves at the other end of the ice, first on Chris Russell and then on Patrick Sharp. Elliott Sharp to end the first period. Second period opens with even more physical play. Dallas generating off of a sloppy, just an awful sloppy pass. It wasn't even really forced, but Dallas generates their first goal of the night off of an awful sloppy pass from Edmondson of the Blues. 4 minutes and 5 seconds into the second period, Dallas has tied the game. It's Radek Faksa, his 3rd goal of these playoffs, unassisted. You might as well give Edmondson an assist on it because he just literally passes it right to him. And I mean, things like that are going to happen in a hockey game, especially hockey games that are as important and as tight as this one is going to be. Those kind of things are going to happen, but damn, that was difficult to watch just as a fan of hockey. It's like, ugh, that was bad. But Radek Faksa finishes the playoff. Dallas has tied the game. Shortly after the tying goal, David Backes, who has played such a good series up to this point, takes a kind of a bad tripping penalty on Janmark. You got to be more careful with your stick. That sends Dallas to the power play, and barely over a minute after the tying goal, Dallas takes the lead on the man advantage. 5:14 into the second period, Dallas scores. It's Patrick Sharp, his fourth of the playoffs. Ben and Spezza drawing the assists on that goal. They cycle the puck down low. Sharp picks up the rebound from Jamie Benn, and he tucks it home. Patrick Sharp gives the Stars a 2-1 lead. Play really starts opening up after that 2-1 goal. It's a bit of a track meet. It's up and down the ice. No real sustained pressure either way. No team can really grab this game by the scruff of the neck and really put a ton of pressure on. Middle of the second period, a bit of a slash party starts opening up, which is, you never really like to see stuff like this, but I mean, these teams are getting annoyed with each other, having played each other now for the fourth straight time. Backus and Russell with offsetting slashing penalties against each other. Then Eakin takes a slashing penalty on Schwartz, 3 consecutive slashes, and this time St. Louis makes them pay for one. 13:06 into the second period, on the man advantage from the Cody Eakin slashing penalty. Paul Stastny, his first goal of these playoffs. Tarasenko and Steen drawing the assists. Tarasenko just puts the puck into the slot. It was kind of a wrister / pass into the slot. Stastny tips it up and over Lehtinen, and it's in the net. St. Louis ties the game. It's 2-2. After the goal, we've got more sloppy penalty trouble. A couple of chances go each way on power plays and I think a very brief 4-on-4 if I remember correctly. But again, teams are kind of getting a little sloppy, maybe getting a little nervous. I mean, both teams know how pivotal of a game this is. St. Louis really wants to put pressure on Dallas here, putting them to the brink of elimination, and Dallas at this point really is playing for their playoff lives. Closing seconds of the second period, Alex Pietrangelo crunches Jamie Benn into his own bench. It's a big hit. It was kind of from the back, but it still ended up being relatively clean. I wouldn't exactly call that a dirty hit, but Pietrangelo trying to send a physical message at the end of the second period. The third period opens up with a giant scramble in front of Kari Lehtinen. The puck bounces a couple of different ways. It finds a couple of sticks, but it stays out of the net. St. Louis playing with a little bit more desperation now, getting down, blocking some shots. Unfortunately, they are missing most of theirs. Most of their shot attempts are just flat out missing the net. So again, that's nerves. That's gripping your stick a little too tight, missing a lot of their shots. Brian Elliott down at the other end has to make a big pivotal save on Patrick Sharp. That could be your hashtag game saver right there. Brian Elliott coming up big. More chances, middle of the third period. Jamie Benn, Patrick Sharp, Antoine Roussel all get chances on Brian Elliott. They're all turned away. For St. Louis, Colton Parayko with a great chance. Troy Brouwer with a great chance. Kari Lehtinen stepping up to the plate, proving me wrong in a way, but he was really stepping up to the plate and proving that it was apparently the right choice to go with him in Game 4. And hey, I've been wrong before. I'm sure I'll be wrong in the future. So I'll take that, and big ups to Kari Lehtinen for the game that he played. The Blues, in the last 2 minutes of the third period, empty the tank trying to win before it goes into overtime. Kari Lehtinen has to come up with his 2 arguably biggest saves of the game to this point. A couple of real big saves late in the game. We are going to overtime. A little bit of free hockey for you. And in overtime, St. Louis gets the first 2 chances. Kari Lehtinen then makes a huge save on Jori Lehtera. And again, in overtime, the volume of your chances don't matter. The quality of your chances do. 2 minutes and 58 seconds into the overtime period, Dallas turns it around in transition. It's Cody Eakin, his first goal of the playoffs. It's the game winner. Sharp and Ben drawing the assists on that. In transition, the puck just gets put across ice, and it's a shot by Cody Eakin, but I honestly think it caught a piece of the Blues defender's stick, because I can't remember who it was now, but he gets his stick kind of on the puck or towards the puck right as Cody Eakin takes the shot, and I can't tell. It's happened so quickly. It's just bang, bang, whether it changes direction or not. To me, it looked like it might have slightly. In any case, it beats Brian Elliott. Dallas wins Game 4 3-2. A huge win, heading back home now in a best of 3. Okay, folks, here it is. Game of the night, game of the year, one of the best games I've ever watched live. San Jose at Nashville, Game 4 of their series, and it goes to triple overtime. Triple overtime, and Nashville at home wins the game 3-2. Shots in this game were 44-43 for the hometown Predators, so basically even, and that gives you an indication of just how close this game was right down to the buzzer. This series now tied at 2 games apiece. Nashville opens the game with a really big push. They need early momentum here. They were down 2-0 in this series. They've got an opportunity now to draw even, and that's exactly what they do. They take early momentum in game 1. Just 41 seconds into the game, Nashville on home ice get on the board. It's Wilson with his 4th of the playoffs. Ekholm and Ellis drawing the assists. The .1 timer from Ekholm is stopped. Wilson picks up the rebound. Nashville's on the board, 1-0. The Sharks then turn around. They go to work in the Nashville zone. 3 times Nashville gets down to block shots, but on the 4th one, 3 minutes and 8 seconds into the first period, San Jose has tied it up, and it's Brent Burns, epic beard, no teeth, Brent Burns, his 3rd of the playoffs. Logan Couture and Paul Martin picking up the assists. Just a nice rush down into the zone by the Sharks. The puck is just kind of along the boards, and Burns just kind of wrists it on net. I think it caught Pekka Rinne by surprise. I didn't think he expected Burns to shoot from that position. It might have taken a bit of a carom off of a defender. It's kind of tough to tell, but it does kind of look like it changes direction a little bit. I think a lot of it, though, it just caught Rinne by surprise. Burns puts it in the net. The game is now tied. We start going up and down the ice here a little bit. Chances going both ways. The game is kind of a pendulum. It's wide open play at this point, just asking for somebody to take the lead. And 9:50 into the first period, that's what the Predators do on home ice. Nashville goes up 2-1. It's Mike Fisher. It's his 3rd of the playoffs. James Neal and Roman Josi drawing the assists. Beautiful drop pass from Josi to Neal. James Neal snaps it on net. That is stopped. The rebound goes to Mike Fisher, and he makes no mistake. Predators lead 2-1. Middle of the first period, it's your favorite and mine. A block party opens up. Multiple shot blocks on each side, desperate to keep the puck away from their own net. Brent Burns takes a tripping penalty on Craig Smith. More key blocks by the Sharks, getting down, stopping those opportunities on the power play. Nashville continues their push after the power play. They keep sustained pressure on the Sharks. No damage, thanks in no small part to Martin Jones. And I tell you, the goaltenders just played so well in this game, and they just seemed to keep getting better the more fatigued that they got. The Sharks start to open things up physically to open the second period, and based off of their physicality, San Jose generates 8 of the first 10 shot attempts in the second period. That's momentum. That is ice tilted in their direction. Martin Jones, though, has to come up and make a big save on a wrist shot by Craig Smith. He looked excellent on that one. And shortly after that, Tommy Wingels and Philip Forsberg take offsetting penalties. That's a great trade for the Sharks. I've talked about this a couple of times throughout these playoffs, but taking offsetting penalties where you get a superstar or definitely a team star off the ice, hey, that's a good trade. Tommy Wingels taking Forsberg off the ice. Forsberg has also been playing some penalty killing time, so in a 4-on-4 situation, nice to get a guy like that off the ice. And the Sharks generate 4 shot attempts on that 4-on-4. Roman Josi, shortly after the 4-on-4, takes an interference penalty, and just as that expires, 14:09 into the second period, San Jose ties the game. It's Joonas Donskoi. It's his 3rd of these playoffs. Vlasic and Martin drawing the assist. Second point of the game for Paul Martin. Just a .1 timer there. Donskoi smashes it home. San Jose ties the game. Now, Nashville would challenge this one, I believe, for an offside. Originally, I thought it was goalie interference, but I think they challenge it for an offside. They review this for a few minutes. They deem that the play was onside. Goal stands. Game is tied. Very shortly after the tying goal, Logan Couture damn near gives the Sharks the lead. The puck bounces into the slot. It finds Couture's stick. A big save by Pekka Rinne, standing tall, keeping this game tied. Braun takes a high-sticking penalty against Mike Fisher in the late second period. And then Martin Jones has to come up with a big save at the beginning of the third, the penalty carrying over into the third period. Mike Fisher, who the penalty was taken on him, basically. Mike Fisher gets the chance on Martin Jones. Jones comes up big on the Fisher wrist shot. Brent Burns then puts the puck over the glass. Just an awful penalty, and as soon as it happens, you thought, that's the backbreaker. That's the dagger right there. No damage on the Predators' power play and the subsequent push after that. The Predators then turn around. They take 2 consecutive penalties. They're playing with fire here, and they're going to get burned. 6:48 into the third period. San Jose takes the lead on the power play. I just did a little unintentional pun there, and I literally said burn, not really realizing that Brent Burns is the one that scores the goal to give San Jose the lead. That was fantastic. Unintentional comedy on the Bridgewater's Finest 2016 NHL Playoffs podcast. Brent Burns with his 4th goal of the playoffs, 2nd goal of the game. Logan Couture and Joe Thornton drawing the assists. It's the big guys for the Sharks coming up big. Just a one-timer from the point. Those shots that Brent Burns throws all day, every day. It's in. San Jose has the lead. Middle of the third period now, Nashville making a wild push. They know if they lose this game, this series could easily be over. And that home crowd, can I just take a second and talk about that Nashville home crowd? Now, as it got into double and triple overtime, I think everybody was just exhausted, so it wasn't quite as loud until the game eventually ended. But oh my God, that crowd got up. It was like everybody just took a shot of adrenaline at the same time, and that building got loud. And that's one of those atmospheres that you're just like, oh God, I wish I could be there. Because just look at all this pageantry, like look at it, and look at how into it these people are. It's like being at WrestleMania. Like, it was unbelievable. That crowd really getting loud. Mike Fisher drills Roman Polak behind the Sharks' net. Brent Burns then comes up with a shot block on Ryan Ellis, but there is a huge rebound. It's right there, and 15:39 into the third period, Nashville ties the game with under 5 minutes to go. James Neal, his 4th goal of the playoffs, with a rebel yell afterwards. Ellis and Wilson with the assists. Again, point wrist shot from Ryan Ellis. Huge rebound, and it's right there for James Neal. He buries it behind Martin Jones. Game is tied. Predators have a couple of chances after the tying goal. 2 key misses, shots that just plain whiff and miss the net. Pekka Rinne then has to come up huge. Joe Thornton basically open in the slot, goes in the 5-hole of Rinne. He squeezes it, keeps the puck out. Then Martin Jones down at the other end. 13 seconds left in the third period. This could be the buzzer beater. This could be the game ender. Roman Josi with the puck and the game and possibly the series on his stick. The wrist shot. Martin Jones comes up big, and we are going to overtime. Beginning of the first overtime period, the Predators are buzzing. They've got most, if not all, of the early pressure and the early chances. But again, all you need are a couple of chances. There's a big scramble now in front of Pekka Rinne. Joel Ward rushing the puck in. He wraps it around the net. The puck is sitting there in the crease. It bounces out. It bounces back in. Logan Couture thinks the Sharks have scored. The puck never crosses the line, never really gets close to the line. The puck stays out. Then the Sharks again appear to score again. Looks like the puck has gone in. It looks like Joe Pavelski is the hero. It looks like he was pushed into Pekka Rinne and then gets his stick on the puck before it crosses the line. The play was deemed to be incidental goaltender contact. Goaltender interference, but not goaltender interference so as to draw a penalty. So Pavelski wasn't penalized on the play, but the goal does not count because Pekka Rinne did not have the opportunity to attempt or make a save. Now, how did you guys feel about that play? Like, I watched it. I watched every replay that they could possibly show, and to me, it does look like Pavelski is pushed enough that he can't pull up. I don't think he's going to intentionally run into Rinne in an overtime game. I don't see it. I don't see Pavelski as that kind of player. He's not Chris Kreider. Anyways, I'm still bitter about that. But I don't see Pavelski as that kind of player. So I don't think he ran into him intentionally. I think that was enough of a push on him from behind that he couldn't get stopped up. He goes into Rinne, and I think his stick hits the puck before the puck crosses the line. So to me, watching it, I thought that was a good goal. That's just me. I understand all the arguments on both sides, and I understand, obviously, the call on the ice was no goal. So it's got to be kind of conclusive one way or the other. So I can understand why they held up the decision of it being no goal. What did you guys think? Like, for plays like that in the future, what do you think? Did you think that was a good goal? Did you think it was not a good goal? In any case, we play on. Now we've got an overtime track meet developing. These two teams are going up and down the ice. There's a few chances both ways, but there's good physical, great defensive play. Early on in the second overtime period, Joe Thornton gets called for a very delayed high-sticking penalty. They were not happy that it took that long for the penalty to be called. Neither side really was, but a great penalty kill by the Sharks, keeping this thing tied. Sharks down with the other end. They cycle the puck. A nice little give and go between the defensemen. A point slapper and a rebound, and it's right there. Pekka Rinne, 2 huge saves right there, keeping Nashville in the game. Shots in the second overtime period were 9-3 for San Jose, and the Sharks out-hit Nashville 6-1 in that period. It was definitely the Sharks' period outside of that Joe Thornton penalty, but even that, they really generated momentum off of the penalty kill. So it was really the Sharks' period. That was their best chance to win this thing. We get in now to triple overtime. Nashville not allowing anything to get on net. Huge shot blocks. No shots recorded in the triple overtime period in the first 4 minutes of that period. No shots for either side. That's how close of a defensive battle this became. Martin Jones has to turn in a big save on Wilson, who is sent in alone on the breakaway. He goes to the backhand. Huge save by Martin Jones. And that was after Pekka Rinne came up huge. A big save on Marc-Edouard Vlasic. So, again, both the goaltenders are just desperate to outdo each other at this point. Both of them are playing fantastic, desperate hockey. They want to win this thing for their team. And on the next Predators rush down the ice, 11-12 into the third overtime period, Nashville wins the game. It's Mike Fisher, his second goal of the game, 4th of the playoffs. I talked about him yesterday about how he was going to be a game breaker for the Nashville Predators. He scores a pivotal goal in regulation and then scores the game winner in triple overtime. What did I tell you? Ekholm and Wilson drawing the assists. It was a point snapshot from Ekholm, which was saved by Martin Jones. The rebound right there for Fisher, and he tucks it in and around. The Predators win the game 3-2. Only have one game of playoff action in the league tonight. That is Tampa Bay and the Islanders. Before we get into that, a couple of news and notes from around the league. Jaromir Jagr has re-signed with the Florida Panthers. It's a 1-year deal, $4 million base salary. I mean, to sign a 1-year contract, it's probably like he's at the point now where every offseason I would imagine he's considering, like, is this my last season? Is it not? Also yesterday, the Jack Adams Award nominees were announced by the NHL. We're looking at Florida's Gallant, Dallas's Ruff, and Washington's Trotz. Those are the 3 nominees for the Jack Adams Award. I've been very critical, obviously, of Lindy Ruff in these playoffs, and somebody in the comments section of yesterday's video mentioned it and asked me what I thought about it. Look, Lindy Ruff's a good coach. I'm not going to sit here and say that Lindy Ruff's not a good coach, but I am going to sit here and say that he's made some really weird, stupid roster decisions so far in these playoffs that he's very lucky has not cost his team being down 3-1. So, he's made bad decisions in these playoffs. Lindy Ruff's a great coach. My fear is that he could be one of these coaches like Bob Hartley, takes his team to the playoffs last year or this year or whatever, and then next year he ends up fired. So that's one of those things that I'm a little worried about it there. Look, Lindy Ruff's a great coach. obviously, he wouldn't be nominated for this award if he wasn't. My lean on this one is Gallant. I don't think anyone expected at the beginning of the season that the Florida Panthers would win the Atlantic Division. Yeah, sure, they lost in the first round, but I would expect that Gallant is probably going to win this because he came in and he's taken this Florida team to winning the division. Anybody could win this award. This award's wide open. Who do you guys think is going to win the Jack Adams? Who's going to be the coach of the year? All right, guys, time for a quick preview of Tampa Bay and the New York Islanders before we get out of here. Tampa Bay leading this series 2-1. Game begins at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. It's available on CBC in Canada, as well as NBCSN in the United States. Ben Bishop and Thomas Greiss will be your goaltending matchup. And for the Islanders, they have a chance to get Ryan Pulock and his big booming slap shot. He's got a big one, regularly registers in the triple digits. They may be getting him back for Game 4. Matt Carle on Tampa Bay's side also may return for Game 4. For the Islanders, Jaroslav Halak is practicing with the team, but he will not back up Thomas Greiss in Game 4. And as I mentioned before, there's no rush. There's no rush at all on Jaroslav Halak to get back here. Thomas Greiss is still playing very good hockey, so there's really no rush for them to bring Halak back, but it's nice to see that he is back practicing with the team. Of note, a group of Tampa Bay Lightning players attended a Justin Bieber concert last night, and the only reason that is noteworthy is because of the Bieber curse, which I do believe is, it's as real as the curse of the Bambino. Now, eventually, of course, that was kind of broken, but, the Bieber curse is definitely a thing, and I don't know how what kind of fortunes that's going to spell for the Lightning, especially for, I believe it was Nemestnikov, wore a shirt with Bieber's face on it. That's got to be that's like walking underneath an open ladder with a black cat. So I don't know. We'll have to see how that plays out. For the Islanders, I want to see more from Quine. He's getting top line minutes for the Islanders. I mean, he's playing on that top line with Tavares, getting a lot of ice time with Tavares. And I mean, he's had 2 shots in his last 4 games. So I need to see more from him, and the Islanders need to see more from him if he's going to stay up there in the top 6, getting top 6 minutes. You got to be able to produce a little bit more than that, especially in a tight series like this, a series that you're down 2-1. And after tonight, I think the Islanders will be down 3-1. I like the Lightning tonight. I like the Lightning to win it 4-3. Maybe it goes into overtime for a 3rd consecutive overtime game of these playoffs. But in any case, I like Tampa Bay by a score of 4-3. I think they win it tonight to go back to Tampa Bay for Game 5, up 3-1 with a chance to close it out. All right, folks, that is going to do it for the Friday, May 6th edition of the Bridgewater's Finest 2016 NHL Playoffs podcast. We hope to have our first guest of this podcast. We hope to have them on the show tomorrow. We're going to be recording very early tomorrow, 8:30 in the morning, and we hope to have our first guest tomorrow, so make sure you tune in tomorrow for that. Thank you very much for listening today. I'm Justin, Bridgewater's Finest on YouTube, Blockbuster_guy on Twitter. Friday is in the books, and we will see you on Saturday.